Email in from Dawn. She said, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and will be getting a lumpectomy next week. My question is, what hormone blocker is safest to take when I already have osteoporosis? What foods are good and bad to stop recurrence? And before you answer this, I just want to say, we did answer this directly as soon as it came in because of the time-sensitive nature of it. So we didn't leave somebody hanging, but let's pretend we hadn't. Let's help Dawn.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer to this all the way around.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with something this serious and you're kind of in a more alternative health, for lack of a better term, realm, and you want to say, hey, I know drugs, I know supplements, we can navigate. But me personally, I'm going to end up being a little more by the book, at least on the drug questions.
Yeah.
And I'll go into a few reasons why. In a perfect world, like if you were just looking up, hormone blockers and osteoporosis, you may come upon a drug called Evista. And that's where my mind went too. I was like, what about Evista? Are there studies out there that would show that Evista could be good in this case? Because it's a very unique drug. It has a mechanism of on certain estrogen receptors, it's a blocker or an antagonist. On other estrogen receptors, it's an agonist. So the agonist part would be bad in breast cancer because 80% of breast cancers are estrogen receptor positive, which means that estrogen feeds them. That's again 80%, and she's discussing a hormone blocker. That means it came from her doctor. That means she's part of that 80%. That's not too hard to deduce there. So I thought, what about Evista? For those reasons, because if it's a agonist or stimulating in areas of the body relating to bone health, that's going to improve because estrogen helps to improve bone health.
Right.
And then it can be a blocker at the breast tissue, do what the drug would like to do, and then maybe she could not go on a bisphosphonate, et cetera, because I'm assuming that if she's sending us emails and following us, that and my dad, she was probably along the lines of not wanting to maybe go on that.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, studies show that it is not very effective or effective enough when cancer has already occurred. So it is approved to help prevent breast cancer. So if this was, way earlier in the game and there was, where we wish we were, that there was no breast cancer and maybe just some osteopenia, or et cetera, and it was early on, then Evista could be a good option, kind of looking down the line. But at this point, once the cancer has occurred, especially invasive breast cancer, it is just not effective enough. And you're at this point, you're dealing with something so serious, it's not where I would play around. So I would stick with a pretty basic recommendation. It's probably going to be similar to her doctors of Arimidex or an Anastrozole or Femara or Letrozole.
Okay.
That is what I would recommend, again, given the situation. So that is going to make, she already has osteoporosis. Maybe she's already on a bisphosphonate or a drug. That would be likely. But at this point, because the hormone blocker, the estrogen blocker, is going to exacerbate osteoporosis, that it's going to be recommended. Again, I wish I had a better answer, but even if that helps to ease her mind a little bit, maybe in terms of why can't she do an Evista, or why does she really have to go on this hormone blocker, or now the doctor's recommending a drug that she's been able to kind of stave off, why is that happening? Maybe if just even from a different perspective can help explain why.
Right, from people who are into the natural thing, no, really, this is not a natural thing sort of situation.
Yeah, that's unfortunately a good way. Not there are other things you can't do all the way around, but the core question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What are there foods that are better than others?
There's as much as you'd want to say there's a special diet for her to follow, there's really not a whole lot else besides what we're typically recommending.
Yeah.
Limiting saturated fat to an extent. Definitely in this case, limiting processed foods, ultra processed foods, processed meats, nitrates and such, which almost lend themselves to cancers.
Right.
So definitely something you would want to try and watch. As far as any certain macronutrient breakdown or this magic antioxidant containing food, not a whole lot. May not be a bad idea to consider mixing in plant-based protein options. In some sense, eating tons of red meat, probably not the best idea in this case.
Right.
But overall, those are all things that I try to do myself, that we talk about, that unfortunately there's just sort of no magic bullet there. I hope that kind of.
So whole live foods, you know, eating the rainbow, as your dad always said, lots of plants, lots of fruits and vegetables. And when you're eating protein, stick to things like chicken or fish or a plant-based source. But I mean, even that is not, you know, if you're eating organic meat, that's probably going to help, right? Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically. Yeah. I would say that the meats that are super high in saturated fat, which are generally the red meats.
Yeah.
Try to mix it up. It's
Yeah.
not, there's a whole argument outside of this right now going on
Right.
with the plant-based
Yes.
foods and the meat consumption and carnivore diet and Liver King. It's like funny how all of this ties together, but you are better off being as varied in your diet as possible.
And avoiding ultra processed, which is always the right answer, but especially in this situation, that's the best we're going to have.
Definitely.
For-
Definitely.
Yeah.
In the tangential thing that always goes with diet, looking at resistance training in her case, especially with osteoporosis.
And resistance training is picking up heavy things. It's weightlifting, right?
Definitely. And there's a different entry point with that for everybody. So if she's not doing tons of resistance training at this point, it's probably not best for her to jump into something that she's not comfortable handling.
Right.
But the key with osteoporosis, osteopenia, preventing it from occurring, preventing it from progressing, improving its current status and all that stuff, definitely want to be trying to move relatively
Right.
heavy weight.
It's all relative.
Yes.
Yeah.
But and
That's
so
key.
whether she starts
Mechanical
with,
loading, like
she starts with bands or something like that, but moving heavier things around than what she's currently doing.
Yeah, it helps. It basically tells the body needs to make the bone stronger. So you're doing whatever you can to
Makes sense.
to get your body working in that regard.
Okay.
On top of all the other benefits of exercise, and
All right. Any other huge lifestyle changes we want to?
there's a lot of stuff out there.
Sure.
I looked at even like testosterone replacement therapy that can help with osteoporosis, and there's controversy over whether it can lower breast cancer recurrence, even though that would be kind of the opposite because you're blocking aromatase, which converts testosterone to estrogen. So there's a lot of things out there, and I could see Dawn following up email with this study or that study. My problem was when looking at a lot of those things, I kept seeing conflicting.
Sure.
Or the study that was positive on it was very small, those kind of things. So there's going to be a lot of stuff out there if she starts Googling, things like that and natural breast cancer. But it's just so serious to me that I don't think it's a route I would.
The risks are high.
Yeah.